Canada is in an affordability crisis. The incompetent government of Canada is unable to control the housing prices, which continues to be sky high. When you look at the housing sector in Canada, it's a very big portion, very big leader in its economy. Canada depends on strong housing for its economy to thrive and be strong, like many other economies out there as well. But Canada is very dependent on the real estate sector, and the prices continue to move up. And on top of that, the government is deciding to bring in 1.5 million immigrants into the country. Now, when you look at Canada, geographically, sure, you can live in many different provinces, but the most famous provinces, the most attracted for immigrants are Ontario, and specifically the city Toronto, and also in Vancouver, BC, another city, Vancouver being another favorite for immigrants as well. Of course, you have Alberta, another province, and you've got the other provinces on the east side as well. But the two main cities, Toronto and Vancouver, you tend to see a lot of immigrants flock to those areas. Now, bringing 1.5 million immigrants makes you think, with the current housing prices, how are these immigrants going to afford homes, especially as inventory in Canada continues to be in a supply crisis, right? Inventory supply is quite short. The demand continues to be there as you bring in more immigrants into the country. Now, as of right now, yes, we've seen sales of housing drop. Yes, the demand has shrunk. Yes, rates have gone up. So, okay, you could say that currently demand has shrinked quite a bit. So less demand, less buyers, that should bring prices down lower. Yes, correct, definitely. But lower to what point? How low can we see these prices come down? And not only you would have to see a massive demand crunch to bring prices down, but you also need, on the demand and supply curve, you need supply to increase. And if Canada is not working towards increasing the supply, then housing is going to continue to be unaffordable. And it's scary because if you look at housing throughout the world, Canada, and Toronto specifically, is at levels that when you look on a chart and you compare the housing prices to income, you'll see the rise in housing prices has been going up like higher, similar to a Bitcoin chart. The rate that it's going at is higher than most housing prices out there. And you compare that to income's just steadily, it's going up a bit, but not so much compared to housing. And that ratio of affordability is just getting worse and worse and worse. And look at the US's. You can still see income and the level of income on a chart higher than the housing prices out there. The housing prices, the chart kind of looks like this, and the income is higher. So, okay, you can afford a home in the US, but in Canada, it's unaffordable. And what's the government doing? Well, they said they're going to increase inventory, and hopefully by maybe 2020 or 2030, things will get better. Now, on top of that, another scary note is that the private debt in Canada is at all-time highs. Higher levels than Japan's peak housing crisis. Before Japan had its housing crisis, we in Canada are higher than Japan's peak debt crisis, housing crisis that they had in the past. Very scary. You have debt levels increasing. You have immigrants coming in. They want to buy a home but cannot because it's unaffordable. So what do? You get rent until then. Save some money, maybe wait till the next era where we start seeing rates coming down and there's cheap credit, and then flock towards that and go and lever up like crazy to buy properties, which most people would do. which most Canadians, if you look at their retirement portfolio, it's just their housing. When they sell their house, that's the money that they receive. That's their money to retire off of. And it's worked for many others. The only question is, going forward, will we see housing prices in Canada continue at this pace? Or will we see some sort of nice decline or decent decline or a massive decline like 2008? What would cause a 2008 kind of crisis in Canada? We do see, again, debt levels high, housing prices high, unaffordability high. Let's not forget about many other things out there that is unaffordable for many Canadians. Prices that have moved up when you look at the inflation rate, like the food, the groceries, certain products in Canada, like the medicines and maybe certain food items that are low in supply that you might see at the grocery store, causing prices to move up. I mean, what did Walmart say just 1-2 weeks ago when they reported earnings? They did well. Earnings did well. Retail sales in the US went up. Why? Because inflation, because prices. Walmart said, we've increased our prices. People are still buying. Oh yeah, you need to eat. You need to eat, so you will go buy. And even if you take inflation out of the retail sales, you may say that, okay, sales has still gone up, because you probably could say that, okay, yeah, because retailer or consumers are going out and taking more loan and more credit to buy essentials. Eventually, this will come back to hurt a lot of people. And it doesn't look good. It doesn't look healthy. This path, this trajectory doesn't look good at all. Especially in Canada, when housing, shelter, rent also continuing to be at very high levels. That is moving up higher and continues to be higher, and more people will probably, as more immigrants come in, they'll flock to rent more, causing prices to probably push up. So this recession that everyone's talking about, this crash that is expected to come in 2023, 2024, whenever, can we see housing prices come down in Canada? Yeah, you could argue, sure. We could see housing prices come down 10, 20%, maybe 30%. But can we see that massive drop like in 2008? That's a hard one. And I would say that would depend on a couple of things. Well, not a couple of things, really one thing. And the one thing that I'm watching is the inventory level. Can we get a lot of inventory into the market, pushing way into the market, more than what people are expecting? Then sure, prices can come down by quite a bit, right? And again, remember, real estate is a big portion of the Canadian economy. Will the government, will Trudeau allow this, right? Well, the real question is to be asking is not the government. Of course, the government will want to see people prosper and do well, but the central bank, Bank of Canada, as they've been increasing interest rates, and they have also said that pain is going to come to consumers, at what point will Bank of Canada cave in and stop raising rates? Right? Definitely it will affect the real estate sector from a demand point of view, but the Bank of Canada has no control on the supply. Unless, maybe, just saying maybe, if you get a lot of people who own homes feeling the pinch of making their payments, decide that all of a sudden they decide to come into the market, and you get a wave of sellers willing to sell at any price possible. Well, last recession that we saw, and in 2008, Canada did hold up quite well in terms of their real estate market, their banking sector as well. US was in a way worse situation. I don't think it's going to be the same for Canada in this next recession. Now, I could be wrong. But why I say that is because the sellers, if they're not feeling the pinch, I mean, they are feeling the pinch, but if they're not at that level where they have to really liquidate, sell their real estate, right, and get out completely, if they're not at that level, maybe some are, but if the majority are not, then they will hold. They'll hold, and the mindset is in Canada that, okay, prices are come down, then I won't sell. I'll hold it and I'll wait till rates come down and then prices go back and back up in the next 5 to 10 years again, which would be the mindset of many, many people out there, right? That own a home and can afford, a little bit of an increase here and there. Definitely everybody's feeling the pinch. Food, shelter, rent, again, all these things. Definitely we're still seeing supply chain issues in terms of certain goods, in terms of, going out and getting shelves and whatnot. And the reason why I say shelves is because recently I went around to look for shelves from IKEA and there was, again, supply chain issues. Couldn't get certain products. You'd have to go to 4 or 5 places around the whole province just to get what you want. And even after that, you're not done with your work. You still are waiting for more supply. Same thing at the groceries. I see certain shelves go in week after week. Certain areas empty. The medicine section as well, empty. Definitely there's problems. Definitely everyone's feeling the pinch. But in my opinion, the inventory, the supply matters. And if that can increase at rapid paces, outpace the demand, then sure, you can bring prices down. But will the incompetent government push this out? Will it work? Will Bank of Canada really push levels of interest rates to cause the whole economy to really suffer, to maybe even get into depression? I don't know. I really don't have any answers with this until time comes, until time shows us where we were really heading towards. But the fact that the government's deciding 1.5 million immigrants to come in, deciding to bring more people, more population, more demand, while the inventory levels already and the supply chain for housing is still tight, the supply for housing is still tight. Because of that, you can see elevated housing prices. And this bubble that everyone keeps talking about, they keep talking about it. They talked about it 2 years ago. They talked about this Canadian housing bubble 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It keeps coming up and up and up. And people say, now this is the time where it will explode. I don't know. If the inventory levels still to be a problem, then this bubble will just continue to grow and grow and grow. If I was the Canadian government, what I would do is start to invest in infrastructure, to make places other than Toronto as hubs and areas where companies can go and grow, and where affordable housing for people in the outskirts of Toronto and other provinces, what have you, incentivize these companies. But no, they don't want to do it. They want to bring in more people. They want, whatever their agenda is, it will still continue to be a problem, and this problem is probably not going to go away for quite some time. If you're a Canadian, or if you're, non-Canadian, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the real estate sector in your area, and do you think that prices will drop quite a bit? What do you think about this whole supply chain issue? You think inventory will come in quite rapidly, or will we live with this for a very long time? Comment below, hit the subscribe button, hit the like and the bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Bye.